Well, so here are some observations about what worked well and framed by way of a brief in case it is of value and in case it resonates for anybody who is coming on this journey with us. Number one, relax and release resistance. Relax and release resistance. And what that really means is follow the law of water. Follow the law of water because the way water flows carries the intelligence of following the path of least resistance. And this is not because of being afraid to confront resistance when necessary. That may happen too. There is simply wisdom that's inherent in the way that a process or an endeavor, a project reveals itself to you. So that's number one. Number two, listen deeply inside and listen for guidance. And I found this year that the whole science of listening and space making, which we have touched, is expanding in a major way in this event that we've had this weekend that I'll refer to in a bit when we talk about the 5 selves. I found myself for the first time describing the 20 or 30 or 40 different ways that you can listen by way of you can listen by being centered inside your solar plexus. You can listen by being 2 inches in front of your solar plexus and sense the resonance there. You can listen by being focused on the edge of yourself, and you can listen back, not in the solar plexus, but an inch or 2 deeper back in yourself, let alone listening with different spaces in your field. So there are so many different ways of listening, and this is far and beyond what I generally describe as the 4 levels of listening, which is more the genericized way I speak of that when I work with leaders, where we talk about not really listening, multitasking, number 1, number 2, cerebral listening, number 3, listening that is more attuned to emotion and energy, and only number 4 is listening with presence or active listening. Beyond that, there is listening level 5 and listening level 6, which are listening that is ready to encompass a whole loom as the intelligence of whatever it is you're in emerging. And what I'm describing now is engaging different dimensions and space within your space as part of the faculty of listening. In other words, not just listening with your ears or listening with your brain, but listening in the throughout whole person that you are becoming by bringing the focus of the listening to different parts of yourself. So that's number 2, which is listen to guidance and attune and discover the other ways that you can listen. The third practice is that I found this year is daring to be experimental, daring to try to play with new configurations, new cosmologies, begin new endeavors, new collaborations. That has been very helpful and nourishing this year. Number 4, to deeply attune to the permanent line inquiry. So I just asked you whether you enter meditation with inquiry. We have discussed in the past this idea that there is inquiry as a technique, as a methodology. There is inquiry that's arising in the moment that you may want to articulate. And there is what I'm describing as permanent line inquiry, where there is an impulse that is central to your life. Like in my case, there is a permanent line inquiry about evolution and about the part we play at this time in this phase of the evolution of the epoch inside the evolutionary process. So creating times where that permanent line inquiry, by which I mean it continues to work in my system at an unconscious level, even when I'm not attending to it in any particular way. I may be watching a soccer game in the World Cup, or I may be watching a movie, or I may be in a dialogue, or I may be reading something, the permanent line inquiry continues to deliver insights all the time, a lot of the time in a surprising way, from and through seemingly unrelated spaces. So there is that sense of finding new ways to forever be attuning to the emergent product of those permanent line inquiries, and especially to what liberates what powers what enhances what. My number 5 is to center on the perennial, perhaps the eternal value. So for example, this is a universe that loves movement. We see how there is joy when we observe our toddlers beginning to move about and beginning to walk, and how they enjoy and celebrate that. We see in the animal kingdom when a baby deer comes out and it can immediately run, and there is a joyous feeling around that. And so therefore, attending to what unlocks movement. And for us humans, one of the practices that unlocks movement is what we're just talking about, inquiry. So movement is a permanent, perennial, eternal property of this universe, and therefore inquiry as a movement catalyzer is something that's inquiry as something that facilitates movement can be enhanced very much. So attending to those elements in our process and practice ecology that for one reason or another are naturally attuned, naturally aligned to perennial and eternal wisdom. Along with our website at portalsofperception.org, Portals is also available on YouTube and on all podcast platforms, as well as social media. You can become an active member and join the conversation in community events. And you can help us get the word out by liking this content and by sharing it with your friends.